baseball caps in high school.
I used to leave both stickers on.
Yeah,
And
so did we. Yeah.
my mom would be like, "You're a loser."
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna grow up and look back on these photos. You know?
Yeah, and in pictures it was always distracting because there'd be like a shine spot on your hat.
And if you committed for like a few weeks and then took it off, there'd be like a ring of clean
the clean spot, and then the dust or like the weed ash or whatever like your hobbies were would be like around it.
I think of a stoner when I think of a fitted
those New Era hats. Yeah. Someone told me that you had to put it in the dishwasher to like keep the shape or something.
In one of those plastic like hat holders.
Yeah, well, that was the part I skipped. Was putting it in the hat holder. You know, you're like 14 and someone tells you something that sounds interesting and you're like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then I threw my New Era, my like Yankees cap because I was...
What color?
It was just like a black Yankees cap, like a New Era fitted, and I threw it in the dishwasher.
I got the red one.
Destroyed it.
You remember Fred Durst?
Oh, yeah.
He used to always rock the red New York Yankees, so I got that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, you don't see them as much anymore, but he used to rock them. And like back in the day when guys were wearing like basketball, when rappers wore basketball jerseys, remember those, like those days in the 90s? That's when people were rocking New Era fitteds. Guys, and then, you know, your Fred Dursts and your Cameron and guys like that that wear it like barely on their head, just like falling off. Joel Santana, all those guys, all the New York crew.
Yeah.
And the brim would just be completely flattened. We used to like put stacks of books on the brim every night just to like keep it flat.
Oh, some dudes had curved
ones?
Hella curved.
Yeah.
And you got to work on it. And if you crack it, it's over.
Yeah, you'd throw it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were like very particular about their hat game.
Now it's dad hats.
Yeah.
And girls will cover their face. They curve it so much and they walk downtown with it like, I think they just don't want to look at anybody.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a hat person. I went through a little phase with it, but I don't understand that. Like maybe they are hiding from something or but who started that dad hat thing? Because that got really big and now it's kind of dying down, but like different people would, you know, oh, we got our merch, we got our t-shirts, and we got our dad hats. You'd hear that a lot. And like, you never used to hear it, and then it got really popular. Like, was like one artist that started wearing dad hats, and then everyone got them, or
I don't know. I see a lot of the toques too. People will roll it up dramatically high, like over the years. Yeah. It's like, dude, it's supposed to keep you warm. like that's its main purpose.
Yeah, it's like buying a Canada Goose jacket, but cutting the sleeves off and like trimming it at your belly button. And it's like,
totally
it's not doing its job anymore.
It looks dope, but
oh man. Yeah. So your new song, we just checked that out. Would you have an official title for it?
I called it Shots.
Shots. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying not to name stuff the obvious part of the chorus. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's overdone.
Right.
But no, I just got a mic again, got a home setup, which is good. I didn't have it for a long time, and it's hard to lose that creative outlet.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, you're writing and you're being creative in your head, but you can't actually make it happen. So it's like very limiting. And I just got a really good deal. It was like $300 and I got mic, interface, already had the laptop. So
and
good.
And the DAW.
Yeah, dude, I'm using Logic. Even though I use Pro Tools at Nimbus, Logic's just like easier. I feel like it's dumbed down in a sense.
Well, for putting shit together from nothing, from starting from nothing and getting to something, I think Pro Tools is next to impossible. But once you get to the editing and the mixing stage, for sure, it has its benefits. But I mean, Logic's just intuitive, right? It's Apple, and you know. They know how to make it fun. They know how to make it like user friendly and accessible, and you got all your loops. I mean, just the loop library on its own, man, is.
Yeah, I prefer the stock plugins in Logic over stock Pro Tools.
Sure, yeah.
And I feel like when you actually apply it, you can hear a dramatic difference. Whereas like Pro Tools always sounds more raw.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it does.
it's definitely got a different sound when you bounce it. We've talked about this.
Yeah. So that beat, is that something that you bought online?
It's a producer. His name is That Kid Gorin.
Okay.
I think he lives in Vegas.
That sounds familiar. I feel like you
He
used
made
one of his beats before.
the Stupid Cupid beat. is
Okay.
his.
Yeah. I remember that one.
I think he's just like some kid, but he makes really dope beats and they're like $15.
What?
Yeah. it
Did
doesn't
you get
make
the
sense.
stems?
No, I just buy the,
It gives you a wave at least.
it's an MP3.
Okay. Okay. $15. Rewind. $15. Yeah. Okay. I fooled me, dude. Like, I don't know. A big problem I find though is that guys that are fire beat makers, quote unquote, don't know a ton about mixing. So, it might sound good in their studio, but when I listen to stuff at 2-Track, man, we have the sub there, and
Yeah.
a lot of the low end is just like blown out. And you might be nodding your head to it, and the guys are in the studio having a few sips of Hennessy, and they're
Yeah.
feeling all right. But on a scientific engineering level, a lot of these like fire beats online, man, like it's really worth getting the stems because a lot of them just sound like doo doo, and like, you can't really fix a poopy MP3, so
Like-
yours sounded great though. I mean,
The reason I like his, I find a lot of producers just want to put out a beat and get it as loud as possible.
yeah, that's a big part
So
of
they'll
it.
just put compressors and limiters all over.
Yeah.
And that way when you get it, you can't mix it because it's fully flattened.
Yeah.
This dude, I don't think he masters them at all. So the headroom is really
There's
big.
no limiter on it.
So that's why when I put it through Lander, it actually comes out sounding decent.
yeah.
So I actually gravitate towards him for that specific reason.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that they know how to leave headroom. Because you're right, louder is always going to be like impressive. You listen to it louder. Like if you play 2 beats back to back, the loud one's just going to hit you more. It's just going to, you're just going to go, wow.
Because it's mastered.
Because it's mastered. And you're going to feel the bass, But you're right, it doesn't give you a lot of room to work with afterwards. And so you mentioned Lander. That was your first time using that, and you said that you were impressed. Like you had some good results with that.
Yeah, dude. I heard about it from who was it? One of the teachers at Nimbus was talking about it like a year ago.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of gimmicky at first because I'm like, you should pay a mastering engineer in theory to get a good product.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, dude, like the algorithms are actually coming along and like this is gonna take over.
Yeah. It's frightening if you're a mastering engineer.
How much is it for the month?
54 Canadian for a month.
And mastering one track is like $80 to $100.
Yeah, if you're gonna get a good mastering engineer, for sure. Yeah, $80. There's a few studios in Vancouver that I've shopped around, and it's $100 per single.
Yeah.
So it's pretty standard. They do a good job. They really do. I have experimented with it quite a bit, and I've found that I got my money's worth. I really got my money's worth because if you're a producer out there, you're an engineer, you're a mixing engineer out there, you know what it's like. There's never like the final mix. There's like final mix 0.1, final mix 0.1,000,000, final mix ever, final mix _. This is the final mix. Like it
2.6 vocal plate.
Right. It just goes on and on and on and on. So you need to experiment. And I was working on some stuff in the fall, and I uploaded, in a day, 15 edits, 15 versions of a mix. And that would, their price per single is $10. So that's it would have been $150 of just experimenting,
That's what I liked. You gave me access. Thank you. But basically, if you're in the mixing stage, you can bounce it out, master it, and then realize the master brings out like different artifacts that you don't like, and then you can go fix it right away. Whereas like if you pay some dude $80, you better hope to God that mix is perfect.
Yeah.
Because what he gives you back is most likely what you need to put out.
Yeah.
He might give you like one do-over if he's nice, but
yeah,
it's a different process when you have access to it.
It really is. I got an album professionally mastered myself in the summer, and there was nothing wrong with that. I was,
Through Jay?
Yeah, I was.
He's dope, dude. It sounds really good.
Yeah, and I could not have asked for more. And there's something to be said for like having that human element to it, and it just has like, I don't know, man. It just has vibes to it. It really does. Like, I listen to my album to death, so I know it better than anyone else. But when someone can give it back to me and I can hear it like and get excited about it, that's saying something. Like they've done something to it. They've injected some kind of quality into it that you can't really put a finger on, that maybe your AI, isn't going to quite get you there.
Plus, how many years did you put in on that?
Yeah. Well, not consistent, but it was from start to finish, it was like 6 years,
Yeah.
From one of the songs to the final master. So, yeah, a lot of time and effort and dedication. So yeah, the AI mastering is definitely, it's impressive and it's making leaps and bounds. But will we ever get there with mixing? And that would be when it gets really scary.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean,
it's too subjective.
There's too many. There's way too many things going on. I mean, they've got computers that can play chess, and that's complex, but like we're talking, I don't know, man, like a mix, come on, like with 100 stems and you've got automation, and then it's like, are you going to delay that word and not that word? Like the variables are just astronomical. Yeah. So, we'll see.
I don't like that idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Cause the masters, like the mix is finished and you're just sending them a left and a right, a stereo thing, and then the algorithm's like, let's, there's a little bit too much bass, and we're gonna, compress the mids a little bit, and there's way less decisions obviously to make.
Plus the mastering thing on Lander, I don't think you should use it as a crutch. Like if your mix doesn't sound good, or your recording isn't good, you can't just assume you're going to upload it to Lander and it's going to make the song good.
Yes, that's a really good point.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you need to go through the process to get your song where it's ready to be mastered. And I think a lot of upcoming people who just have Lander right out the gate, they're going to see it as, okay, I just literally put my vocal into the mic, put a couple like EQs on it, and then immediately upload it to Lander. But they're skipping so many things.
Yeah. And that's, as long as I've been doing this, every day I'm realizing like how deep that the mix process is, and like those legends that we look up to that are mixing, like Serban Ganea and guys like that are doing like all the biggest pop records in the world and R&B records. Like there's such a different level between where someone who does it, as a hobby or thinks they're dedicated, and then someone like that who's like a legit like black belt in mixing. And there's just like, it's just, the levels are just so, they just go on and on and on. But what I remember what I was trying to say earlier about loudness and stuff, and what I've been doing recently with my mixing, so that I know already before I even send it to mastering what it's going to sound like, is I'll mix with a limiter on. So before I'll put like the Slate Digital and crank it so that as I'm mixing, it's mixed really loud, kind of mimicking what it's going to sound like mastered. So everything's kind of brought up already, right? And like you said, it's going to bring up those things, those artifacts or those frequency areas that are problematic. The louder it gets and everything gets squished together, those just get way more noticeable. So you're kind of saving, I've noticed it saved me so much time. It saves a whole step, because it's like at the end, I'm just I'm going to trust what this algorithm does or what this mastering engineer is going to do to it. But the main thing here is loudness we're talking about. So what is my mix going to sound like super louder than where it's already at?
Yeah.
And oh man, like it's been a game changer for me. I'm able to fix mistakes right away, right?
I wouldn't want to be a mastering engineer right now. Like if that's what you've invested your whole studio into and your whole life is banking on basically mastering albums, I think that's going to get eradicated.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. That's a real discussion. This is like global warming for audio. Like this is a real hot debate, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is.
And those SoundCloud rappers, I mean, they're going to use Lander or nothing. But if they do master, they're not going to put $80 towards a master.
Oh, man.
They're going to steal the beat for sure.
Yeah.
They're jacking the beat off YouTube.
Yeah.
And then probably preset master in Logic or Lander.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they got to save the rest of that Skrilla for the video, and for the jewelry and the whatever, right?
You see it firsthand.
It's tough enough to get people to appreciate the value of a good mix.
Yeah.
But then most people don't even know what mastering is. Like it's the average artist, like you have to talk them into a mix. But then you say mastering and then you're speaking Greek to them. They look at you like, what's that? And then you're like, okay, wow. So you're right. It's that much harder to get them to commit to that.
It takes time.
That. Yeah.
Like I listen to songs that I made 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like I thought this was finished.
Yeah, me too. Oh my God.
Like my vocal is just so harsh. I can't listen to 10 seconds of the song.
Or buried completely. Like
it's just weird. And at the time I was fully okay with like showing this to my friends. And it's funny because at that point in my like making music, I was the most adamant about promoting my songs and putting it on Facebook and showing my parents and like getting it out when it was the worst. And now it's probably at its cleanest, most musical aspect. And like, I just keep it to myself.
But you're slacking on the promotion side.
Actually, I put out, it just went up yesterday, is Party's Over. I put out the album that we did.
Okay.
The EP, it's out.
Yeah.
I waited, but it's up.
Oh, those are some of my favorite T. Meroni joints.
Yeah.
And so that's available.
It went up yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So it's there.
Oh, I'm going to be
the artwork is from your backyard.
Yeah, from the birthday party. Yeah.
Yeah.
You kept that one with the balloon and the cigarette, and
it looks sick.
It was great. It was, it's not a cigarette. It's okay. This is British Columbia. Oh, that's great. I'm glad we did that in here, didn't we? Did you keep those masters, or did you send it to someone else after?
Nah, dude, those
yours.
Are
the masters
we did it twice.
Yeah, we did do it twice.
You added parallel compression and some other stuff, but it sounds good.
I automated some reverbs too on a couple of on
the hook for the last one.
What's that hook with that song with that big like anthem hook?
I don't even say anything.
Yeah.
It's
no,
just
there's no
beat.
vocal. It's just, but I was like, we gotta crank this up.
That's the last track.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember like doing an automated reverb for the hook and like a big 4-second reverb for this like anthem thing, and then when you start rapping again, the reverb dips down. Like,
it's weird. I was so consumed in that project that when I was done, I was so unhappy with it because I'm just so hard on myself.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days ago, I was just going through files on my computer, opened it, and I was like, this is like, this sounds good.
Yeah.
Like it sounds finished.
It does.
And I think it was important to have a ear break and step away and actually like revisit and see it for what it is. Because man, when you're recording, you probably hear that beat like, I don't know, 100+ times.
Sure.
Mixing another couple hundred.
Yeah.
And then when it's done, you're like, finally, this is finished.
Yeah.
So you listen to it another couple hundred.
Oh, yeah.
Like the beat has to be so good when you find it that you're willing to listen to it like 500 times.
400 or 500 times, yeah.
Because like the beat can't be okay.
No.
If you're going to commit to actually putting vocals on it and the next 6 months.
It better like change your day. Like it better just be like a whoa, like, you know.
I try to be really picky for that reason, because you're getting married to that beat.
That's a great way to put it. You are committed. This is a 500 listen commitment. But your Party's Over project had such good beat selection. That was one of the strongest points of it, you know, besides like your some of your witty punchlines and your hooks, obviously, but like, the beat selection was so strong.
Well, because it's an EP, they're all very different.
Yeah.
And I tried to actually structure it so that you can listen through. Because I feel like placement of your songs super important.
Sure.
You don't want to have like back-to-back bangers or like back-to-back sad songs or whatever. You want to have it cohesive, but kind of have a storyline in some sense.
Yeah. You want to take, there's got to be highs and lows, dynamics. You want to,
exactly.
You know, you want to have a really slow song and then the banger. And because then the banger hits way harder, you know, like if it's you've got like a ballad, a slow ballad with lots of reverb, and then your like club banger comes on, or your big hit, your party song. It's just going to hit way, you know, it's about building moments and experiences in that, not just in the song, but in the order of the project. And
it's like Rick Rubin special.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. I'm happy it's out, and it kind of allows me now to focus on more stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I don't know, it's weird because we work so hard on getting like a song done or a project done. And my least favorite part of the whole like experience is actually releasing it. Like I'm so like over it by the time I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on like masters at home.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't care if anyone hears this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Hey, like it's.
Whereas like other people actually get more limelight because they're the opposite. They'll spend way less time on the song,
and just
but they're heavy about the Instagram. They're good at networking. They'll do like little shows. I just don't have the energy to do that.
I never have.
Like
I'm just so challenging.
I feel like someone would have to force me.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be that guy where every time I bump into someone, I'm like, yo, I put out a new track.
Yeah.
Or like, yo, I put a video out.
Or like force the headphones
on. Can you
on
comment?
them.
Yeah.
Like, check my song out. Like,
because then you're that guy.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm not. You're the traveling salesman, but like you're not going door to door. You're just, the doors everywhere. You just take it wherever you go, and it's just like it's just exhausting. It's hard enough just to like write about it, but then to like put it out, and you know. Some people thrive on that shit though. Like you said, there's some people that are naturally born extroverts, and you know, they were the people like, oh, you want to see me break dance? Like that kind of guy. Like just like, no, did I ask? Sit down.
You're thinking of someone specific from your high school, aren't you?
Probably. And then you've got the people that are like the closet genius introverts, you know, but that's why it's so important to have, I don't know, to have a team around you. It's like, you know, it's cool. I'm seeing that a lot more now at the studio, you know.
Like a group?
Which is great. Have, you know, an artist with a manager, and they've got like a team behind them. They've got a person that can handle all the business stuff, and they do their bookings, and they're kind of like, they vouch for them. They're the one I'm booking the sessions with, and then the artist comes in and like, the artist does their thing, they do their performance, and then they don't have to worry about all that stuff. It must be such a nice relief to have all that off your shoulders. Like, oh, I've got someone to take care of it. Like, sure, you'll pay them a cut of what it's all worth. Like, you know, at the end of the day, this is a business, you know, everyone's got to get a cut, get a chip in, but it's cool to see people taking it to that next level, you know, and investing in their career and buying beats, having a manager, like I said. So it's fun for me too, you know.
I think the big thing that changed for me was just my mentality. Like, I know a lot of people get into this because they see people on stage, bunch of fans, they see a sick music video, and they're like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong attitude. And that's actually kind of what I thought when I started. Like, I wanted 1 million views. I wanted all that stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
But if that's why you're doing it, it's not going to last. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because they're, trends are trends.
Yeah.
Period. Not everyone is Jay-Z. Not everyone can be relevant and keep revolutionizing and changing them and reinventing themselves for 20 plus years. Most people that make it, they're going to go to the top. They're going to be all over Instagram, and then it's a 2-year thing. Like, do you remember a few years ago? Oh my goodness. Like the XXL freshmen, you know how they have like on the cover of XXL, they have like all the new guys out that year.
Yeah.
And there was that year that it was Action Bronson, J. Cole, Kendrick,
I think MGK, Iggy,
MGK, Schoolboy Q, like there was
Chance maybe.
For sure. Like holy
I remember.
shit, right? But not all of those guys. You don't hear all of their names anymore. You know what I mean? Like obviously Kendrick and J. Cole have been able to like swim through all the bullshit, and they're still upstream now. But every year there's so many new people, and it's like, how long are you gonna last, man?
Yeah, it's weird, especially like look at 6ix9ine. Like he obviously he just was over the top in every single way.
Yeah.
It was kind of like fame for anything.
Cost.
Yeah. And it wasn't really about the music. And that's another thing. When I moved to Vancouver and went to Nimbus, I really, really wanted to make a music career and make this happen. And then as I got more involved and met people in the industry, I figured out that it doesn't matter if your song's good. Everybody has good songs.
Sure.
There's so many artists. It's very saturated. It comes down to having the whole package.
Yep.
But also now more than ever is the marketing aspect, your image, how you portray yourself, what your like message in the music is, like all these things that have nothing to do with maybe recording the song.
Yeah.
Like what you actually enjoy doing is more important. So like 6ix9ine, not saying his music's good or bad. I don't listen to it, but he obviously is just marketed himself as clickbait. Like people just want to see like what he's up to because it's so over the top.
Yeah.
And if he was just putting out albums and he was a really chill guy and his hair was just brown and he had no face tattoos, I don't think he would have that like the same following.
No question about it.
That's why the face tattoos are becoming so prominent. It's just people want to be that guy.
People are pushing the boundary further and further and further, and it's more about the wrapping paper than what is inside the present,
Word.
It's like, how big is your ribbon?
Yeah.
And like how many colors are on your wrapping paper? And does your card sing when you open it?
That's commitment, tatting your face.
That's crazy. Everyone's got a tatted face now. There's every other day there's a new guy.
I won't do it.
But it's weird, I was thinking about this, I think about it often, but it's like we're almost what we call hip hop and stuff nowadays, like it's a whole nother thing. It's not, it's trap. Like it's like the guy sipping lean with the face tattoos and the mumble rap and the rolled hi-hats and the 808s. Like this is a whole nother thing. It may have grown from hip hop the way that hip hop grew from soul and stuff. Like it took from another sampling soul and funk records and jazz and different genres come out of other genres. But we're to call like these guys rappers is, I don't even know if that's the right term anymore. This is a whole new genre that we have to seriously reconsider, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, man. And also the whole home studio access. Like before you had to actually rent out a space.
Yeah.
Find someone who could engineer and work the big boards.
Totally.
And now like all the way to the mastering, you can literally do it off a laptop.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that kids are going to listen to.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they're downloading it off SoundCloud, it's an MP3.
Yeah.
So it's already crushed.
Yeah.
And man, there's so much like there's bad music out there that's really popular.
Yeah.
Like it's like not mixed well. The rapping isn't super good.
No, but
Like it's not musical.
it's not. And yeah, it's very puzzling. It comes down to, like we were just saying a minute ago, like how good is the packaging? How good is your social media? How crazy are your videos? You know, what's your image like? You know, because people are gonna see that
Yeah.
and then be like, oh, what? This guy's got a rainbow Lamborghini and he's fucking. You know, like, oh, I wonder what that sounds like, as opposed to the other way around. Like you said, the guy with brown hair who just looks like everyone else. Like, you're not going to be as, you know, should I check that out? It's not going to stand out as much. And that's just like a sad reality of the internet, is just because it is so saturated and there is so much goddamn content.
Yeah.
Instagram is out of control, right? And it's like, what can you do to just stick out that little extra, you know, to be seen, to get clicks?
You also need money. That's another thing I realized, is like, if you have a song, it's done, it's ready for radio potentially, you need an investor to put in a lot of money backing it to push it to get to that level.
Sure. Yeah.
So if somebody has a whole bunch of liquid money, they can buy that music video, they can buy that $5,000 beat, they can buy their way into being heard. Because that's kind of part of it too. If you're broke, it's pretty limiting. Like you would have to have a lot of talent for someone to produce for you for free.
Totally.
Just to be like, yo, if this goes somewhere, like split it 50-50.
You'd have to be extraordinary.
Yeah. Like most producers, for good reason, aren't going to give you a beat.
Yeah.
They're not going to spend a day with you recording just because. Like that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
They're trying to make money. Like it's so time consuming.
It makes me want to know more about, you know, Illmatic. Obviously we're all familiar with Nas's debut album, but he was like, you know, he was that prodigy. He was that guy that stood out. He was like 17, 18 when he made that. And all the biggest producers in the world, like Large Professor, DJ Premier, Q-Tip, all these guys were like giving him beats. And he was just like, he hadn't released an album yet, but he was just on another level above everyone. And so without, you know, he's just a kid from the projects, but like, that's the equivalent now of you or someone, just a guy, and then Timbaland and all these, you know, Dr. Dre just throwing beats at you because they believe in your talent. I guess that kind of happened with Kendrick, you know, when he came out. Everyone was hitting him up for beats. He was like the golden child, right?
Yeah, I feel like Anderson .Paak is kind of like that right now.
Yeah, definitely. So it does exist. It still does exist. And there are those people that are legitimately like unbelievably talented that stand out above everybody. But you're right. It's just it's a lot easier to buy your way into things and to know people, and you can get there way quicker, right?
Same for the producer, like DJ Mustard, for example.
Great example.
He's kind of like a staple that if you're a rapper, you need one of his beats on your album, and that's how it works. Yeah. So it's like if you want to be in that top tier, you know you got to hit him up. You got to build a relationship with that dude, and then you got, who am I thinking of? Who's that guy that does all the beats? He did the Fifi beat. He hangs out with Migos.
Yeah,
and
he's
stuff.
That white dude.
Yeah. And he always wears shades.
Yeah,
I
know
him.
his name, but it's
this would be the laptop type of thing right now.
For sure. And he's really trendy right now, and he's got that sound that everybody likes, you know.
Because the producer, just as much as the artist, is trying to blow up. They just blow up in a very different way.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually not in the spotlight, but they're stacking the money. Because people do pay $5,000 for a beat. If you're doing exclusive, like I'm giving you the stems and you now own them, people pay $5,000 for sure.
Murda Beats?
Murda Beats, that's him, yeah.
What I really like nowadays is that you're seeing producers blow up a lot more. Like,
getting the credit.
Producers are getting the credit the way they never have, ever. Like you know,
Macklemore doing Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. I like that.
Exactly. That was cool. Totally what I'm talking about. And the guys that are, in the bedrooms making the beats, they're getting as famous, maybe not as, but they're celebrities. Whereas back in the day in the 90s, like you had to be a real hip hop head to know to like, flip through your album, your physical album and be like, oh, yo, who produced this beat, for this Mobb Deep or whatever, Jay-Z, who, but now like those producers are popping and that's great.
They're famous.
They're famous. Sure. I love to see that they're getting the credit.
Like Drake's got 40. Everybody knows him.
Everybody knows 40. Yeah. Or Boy Wonder, guys like that. People know these names.
I met Boy Wonder.
You met him? Yeah. Oh, cool.
At Venue downtown.
Was he performing there?
He was doing a show for Blueprint something. My buddy Cam brought me in, chatted with him for a bit.
Oh, nice.
He had Fruity Loops open. Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm sure. Hey, you don't need much if you know how to use it. You know how to use your tools. Free. I guess there's a free version of that, I'm sure, but
I've never used it and it looks confusing.
Or a crack version. Yeah, it does look confusing, but hey, works for these guys. They're making the biggest bangers out, with simple little beat making programs.
That's one thing I never could figure out is making beats.
Oh yeah.
I started trying to figure it out. Then I was like, this is not my life. I'm not down. I'd rather focus on writing, recording, and like perfecting that. Because I met other beat makers and they were so far ahead of me that I couldn't even grasp how to get there.
How am I going to close the gap to catch up to these guys?
So I'm like, let me just give up right now.
Yeah. Hey,
and then focus on my strength. You know what I mean?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that because you already have a passion. You already have a path, writing, emceeing, and you're like, I'm sticking to this. And let me just get way better at this as opposed to trying to get good at two things and then I won't be as good. Like put 100% into your jujitsu and not 50% into wrestling, 50% into jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? MMA reference. But
plus it's not fun. Like that's the other thing is it felt very tedious.
Oh God, until you get good and get comfortable, it's like, I don't know, doing your taxes or something. I remember the first time I was getting into making beats and like, how does this go here and learning your BPM and
the keys.
It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot. And if you want to be good at it, you have to put the time in, the way you do with writing. So, hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, totally.
There's enough beats out there to go around. So
honestly, man, sometimes I'll just go on YouTube or SoundCloud or whatever. If I just can find a beat that inspires me to write, those are lyrics that I can use for anything.
Sure.
So I'm like, if I find a beat and it pulls out a verse or a hook or whatever, I'll sit on it. It doesn't have to get recorded on that beat. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I see. So you're using the beat as actual just inspiration.
Straight up. Yeah. Because it's like, if you find a beat and then you write a song to it, chances are that BPM is going to be on another beat. Yep. So your verse is probably going to fit pretty close to something else. It's flexible.
I did that
So
recently.
I just, I write. I'm always sitting on like 20, 30 songs that are not finished, but they're kind of like broken ideas.
Yeah.
And then even the song I showed you today, that was like 4 different songs. And I just pulled like my favorite things that kind of fit and made sense and was the same storyline.
Thought I recognized some of the lyrics.
Yeah. So it's a weird process, but it's the only way I can get a song together. Because it's rare that you'll sit there and actually get like verse 1, chorus, verse 2, and then verse 3, like all at one time.
Yeah. I used to be able to do that. I don't know, when I was younger and I
don't have time.
Really inspired. I could sit and write a whole song in one session.
Yeah.
I could do 3 verses and a hook.
Well, you hear rappers doing Adderall so that they can do that.
Yeah, so they can just stick with it and and finish it.
Hammer out an album.
But otherwise, you're just like, oh, verse. This is a verse. I could use this, even though I wrote it last summer, but this will work, and I'll rehearse it as verse 2. And like you said, you're just making a collage of a bunch of stuff that works, but stuff that was inspired to begin with.
Have you ever had writer's block?
I have had it for 3 years. So
like you're currently in it?
Yeah. I haven't written anything new for
No way.
years. I just found, I also, even though I've been doing a lot of mixing and recording for other people, I spent a little bit of time on myself recently and went looking for beats. And I found this guy that, you know, like it gave me that feeling where I was like, I'm putting a ring on this beat. I'm putting a ring on this beat, and I committed to it, and I bought a beat.
And the minute like you hear the first 5 seconds, you almost know the beat is like for you.
For sure. And I can make beats. I've been making beats since 2007, but this one was just, you know, like I said, I haven't been feeling really inspired to create. So I just went and looked, and I hit this guy up. I got the stems. I paid for it. And I was like,
Show me after.
I will. And I was like, I love this. However, I had a song written from when I was at Nimbus.
Yeah.
That I never, you know, that I've been rehashing for years. And I was like, I've never been happy with this. However, I love these lyrics. These lyrics were from a time when I was really inspired, and the rhymes, I love the rhymes. And I was like, I wonder if I can use this. So I you know, figured out the BPM, and then this beat that I bought, I made sure it was the same BPM, rehearsed my lyrics to this new beat song. And then I did write a hook, so I lied. I wrote a hook. But the first one, verse 2, verse 3 were done 5 years ago, and this new beat I bought a month ago, and I put them together, and it's, you know, I'm fucking stoked out of my mind about it. So
no one's going to know that.
No one's going to know. It's the same BPM, you know. To chop a few words and just, you know, because every beat's got a groove. So even though it is the same BPM, like the way I rapped it, it's not exactly grooving with this beat. So I did chop a few words and then move them by a few milliseconds to kind of get it in.
Yeah, I get that.
To the vibe. But it's seamless, right? And I'm like, yes, finally I can release this. I feel like the beat is on par with the lyrics, because I felt like these lyrics were like, you know, 10s, and I had to get a beat that it was a 10 to match them.
You should try not writing. Like maybe not all the time, but for the song I showed you, I didn't write that hook. I just listened to the beat.
Yeah.
Put it on loop.
Sure.
I put the input on so I could hear myself.
Okay.
And then I would try to find if I could like sing on key.
Okay.
And then find that and just spitball. And then once you have one layer, you just match it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter like what the lyrics are, because you're using that first take. And I feel like it's more, there's something about reading off your phone or a paper or whatever. Sometimes it sounds like you're reading.
Yeah.
And if you just close your eyes and kind of like go with whatever feels right, your timing is more laid back and in the pocket. And I feel like that's super important for the hook. So that's kind of what I try. I don't really have like a process. Like it's so different. You got to be in tune with yourself and kind of, you know, like go with it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That what you said about reading off your phone is so true though. Like, I've gotten to the point now where like, if I'm in the control room and someone's in the booth and I'll, you know, I've got the talkback mic, so I don't see them. They're in the other room. Yeah. But I'll be like, push the talkback mic. Hey, are you reading off your phone by any chance? And they'll be like, yeah.
The delivery is just gets butchered. And
it's A, the delivery, and B, because they're like holding it down to their chest, so they sound like this. And I could be like, oh no, you gotta, and I'll come in and I'll be like, yeah, you gotta move your face up here and hold the phone here, so we get it. You gotta talk into the mic. Don't be reading off your phone. So it's the two things. It's the audible of the frequencies, and then the audible of like, you sound robotic. Why didn't you rehearse this at home and learn it?
It's a level of confidence. Yeah. Like if you write a verse and you have practiced it so many times, it's memorized, and then you record that. Yeah. You get to say it with like a certain kind of assertiveness. Totally. You know what I mean? Like there's conviction with what you're saying, because you know damn well what every like word is, you know, ending with. Whereas when you're reading, you're kind of like it's like when you're reading in front of a classroom.
Yeah.
You're like hoping you don't screw up, or like that a word comes up that you're like
Yeah.
not familiar with.
Right.
It's like you're kind of going through it like, I hope I make it to the end, which is not the mentality you should have when you're in a recording booth.
Yeah.
Which is another problem. I'm sure you see it a lot, but I think people don't always prepare for the studio. Like they kind of go there to hang out.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm not trying to say that that's wrong. I'm not trying to criticize, but I'm just saying that there is a definite difference, you know. And a lot of people do come into the studio and they come fresh and they just come with zero. We put the beat on and they write it there, and then they're like, you know, they're learning their take. They're learning their verse as they're doing these takes. So it might take 15, 20, 30 takes for a verse because they just wrote it 10 seconds ago and they're like, oh, I'm going to add a bar or whatever. But having it memorized gives you room for conviction. It gives you room for, let me put some attitude into this. There's room for attitude and style and character. Whereas
you can play with it.
You can play with it. You can mess with your timing a little bit because you already know what words are coming next. So you could put a little bit of inflection in your voice, or you know,
which makes the world of difference for a listener.
Oh, it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. You know, you can spice it up, man. There's more art to it. It's more creative. So
plus, like when you get to the recording process, personally, I don't want to waste time.
Yeah.
Like when I actually turn my mic on and get Logic open and start tracking, like that doesn't take a super long time to get things down.
Right.
That takes like 15, 20 minutes to like lay the whole song down.
Yeah.
Because I've practiced everything.
Yeah.
I know exactly what to do, where it's going to go. It's like the recording should be short and sweet.
Yeah.
And then you spend the time on mixing. But I guess everybody has their own approach, right?
Yeah. No, they do. They do. But yeah, I think the way I've always been is try to get the recording done as quick as possible because I do love the mixing side so much. And I do love the, you know, what can I do with this section, or where can I throw some delays in, or I can start having fun with the beat drops.
It's way funner.
That's all the fun stuff, you know.
The beds is like a chore.
Yeah. It's like, okay, let's get these done. Exactly. It's a chore. We got to get this over with. We got to paint the fence. You know?
Yeah. One thing I've tried to do more recently is actually get, if you're tracking a verse, I used to split it up, or if I didn't get a perfect take, like I would just do it in sections. But now I'll try and get like a 16 just flat out, because it's so much better if in the mixing process you can just deal with the whole recording.
Yeah. You just have your blob there.
Yeah,
that's
it's a blob.
verse.
And you're like, okay, I did it until I got it good. Or
yes. Yeah.
like it's just funner mixing when you have like maybe 6 tracks and it's like a lot cleaner.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you chop stuff up and you're trying to make it sound seamless, not as fun.
Or especially if, you know, you've been working on verse 1 for 40 minutes and then it's like, oh, we got to take a smoke break, and then you'll do the last 4 bars of verse 1 after the smoke break.
Sounds different.
The vocal tone is so different.
Yeah.
It's just the oxygen in the room is different at that point. It's been an hour. It's so different. You know, these are things that maybe the average person won't hear, but like for someone who does audio professionally, and I'm so sensitive to this shit. Like, oh, it's night and day. You can hear the tone. It's just sometimes a verse will be done in, you know, more than 2. It's like 3 parts, and it's like the energy is different. That, you know, maybe you were warmer, you took your jacket off, and we're doing a new take, the second part, and it's just like it's a collage at that point of different tones and sounds. Where if you can just rehearse it and get it down, vocal take, verse 1 take, it's just get through it to the end, and that's always a satisfying feeling. Every time a rapper gets the verse in 1 take, you know, I'll make a point of like high-fiving them or just being like, see, you know, just congratulate them, make, you know, reinforce that, being like, you know, we talked about it, we maybe rehearsed it a little bit, and then, you know, and I knew you could do it, I knew we could get through this, and there's always a big smile, and it's like a sense of satisfaction, like, yeah, I nailed my verse in 1 take, man, like, you know. it's concentration, it's breathing, it's all these little things. It's the rehearsal. So, and it's a that in that sense, it's a performance. You know, it's not like an edited television show. You're seeing someone perform live. It's the difference between an edited television show and going to the opera and seeing someone.
It's seamless.
It's seamless
because it's literally one take.
Yeah. So it's there's definitely something to be said for memorizing your vocals.
It's good. I'm actually having more fun now because put in like 10 years and music's kind of frustrating when you're first getting into it.
Sure.
Because you hear finished products and you're like, how do I get that sound? And no one's telling you anything.
No.
You're like, yo, what plugins do you use?
Yeah.
What mic do you have? No one's sharing their secrets. We've talked about that too.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's in their own corner looking out for themselves.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like I've developed a bit of an ear. I can build my own template, work with it, get the sound that I actually want.
Yep.
Not needing necessarily more than a bit of internet, I guess, for tips here and there for like EQing or whatever. But I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing, which is it's funner to build a song when you're like, okay, I know I can rap this first try or second try, and then pick one of the two because they're both on time, but one's just a bit like better, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like I don't have to stress. I don't have to stress about necessarily making a song. Like I know it's gonna happen, so I can actually enjoy the process a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas before, it's like my timing wasn't on.
Yeah.
I didn't know what on key was or wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was skipping mastering. I was, showing it to friends, which is like when you first start and you show someone a song that you made, if they don't make music, they're just going to be impressed that that's your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, you recorded something.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're going to be impressed that you just finished it and you can release it.
They're like, you have a microphone?
Yeah.
And it plugs into your computer?
Honestly. Yeah, man.
And that's the thing, man. You get surrounded by people who just pump your tires.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, that is incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, not that you want people shutting you down, but I think a little bit of self-awareness is good. And I have a lot more of that now. Like even just critiquing my own recordings.
Yeah.
Like if I put down something, I can be honest that it's not as good as I can do it and continue trying.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not just like, I'm good and, move on.
It's like, I feel like that about mixing. It's like the more I know, the more I realized I didn't know. You know what I mean? And when I was first starting and you're just ignorant. It's like that term, ignorance is bliss, but now as you get, you get more experienced, you're more critical, but
you're less easily impressed.
You're for sure less easily impressed.
Like it takes a lot for me to get happy about something I did now.
But getting there is easier. There's definitely still that process where it's like, okay, I know what all these things do and I know how to get from A to B. But then it's getting from B to Z that's the difficult part, and that's where you're like really critical on yourself. But that beginning process is fun now because you've been doing it for 10 years and you know how to get up and running at least. And that's not a chore. Hopefully that's why we do this. That's why we get inspired. That's why we want to put these things together.
It's crazy how much time you have to put in. Like, for real.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's obviously naturals, but there's so much to know about recording.
Oh, man.
Like, the plugins, the different DAWs.
Yeah.
The writing process, the actual process of being in a studio, the etiquette, how to work with an engineer, the producer.
Totally.
A mastering person. And then you have the marketing side. It's like, there's so many layers, dude.
Yeah. That's why I'm so fascinated with this medium, like with audio. It just goes so deep, and I don't really know anything else. Like I'm not particular, like I don't do martial arts. I'm not like into cooking. Like this is my thing. This is what I'm crazy about. And I'm sure other, people that are really, really good at their craft would say the same thing. They would say, oh, it takes so long to get, to be like a Michelin star chef or something like that. Or, to be to get into the NBA. Like we just see guys dribbling balls, but we don't understand like just getting there at 4 a.m. for practice and just unbelievable amounts of drills and just repetition really at the end of the day, getting really comfortable with what you're doing. But it really does. Like, I'm coming up on like, 15 years, and I feel like I'm making amateur mistakes still sometimes, where I'm like, how am I still not good at this? Like, how am I still, there's still such a gap to close for me to get to like some of those guys I was talking about earlier. To like, it's unbelievable, but it's so satisfying, man. It really is, because it feels like it never ends. It just feels like there's no end to this.
Yeah. That's why you got to like the process.
You have to,
because if you don't like the process and you're just trying to be that guy,
just trying to totally,
you're gonna stop doing it. You're gonna give up, and you're gonna pick up something else.
Yeah.
You have to enjoy the recording.
Yeah.
You have to be able to like mix or be around the mix or understand what you want from it. If you don't have that, man, you're just like, you're in it for the wrong reason, for sure.
For sure. 100%. Yeah.
Because like you shouldn't do it so that girls like follow you, I'm
not engineering in my pajamas and editing drum takes till 3 a.m. to like have a waterfront house. I'm doing this because
that's the other thing,
like I love this. I'm obsessed with it. So I'm a nerd about this. Whatever your particular thing is, you totally have to love it.
You start realizing too, everybody in the industry, like most of the people don't have money. And they're just reinvesting the money they do make into the craft.
Sure.
So there is like a small percentage that's kind of like has a place in LA, place in Vancouver, and they have that flexibility and they get the grants and they have the Much Music video. It's like that does happen.
Yeah.
But most people don't get there. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like some people find that out. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm not down anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of deters people from like diving in. Cause I've had years, man, like I'm just like, what have I done?
Yeah.
I'm like 5-6 years in and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get there. But then you realize like, yo, this is fun. I actually do love this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter where it goes.
It should just you should want to do this for free. You should be happy, like not like, yes, sharing is good and making other people feel good with what you've done is great. Like being able to change the world through music or get people inspired telling your stories, that's beautiful. But at the end of it, like I've always told myself from the very beginning, like I'm doing this for me. I don't have to release any of these songs and I can just enjoy the hell out of the process of it and just be in love with the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like it's for me. And if it's not coming from that type of place, then how can I expect anyone to connect with it anyways?
I love listening to my own music. Like it's the first thing I do.
Yeah. Like
I rarely get sick of myself. Like that's
why I took 6 years to finish that album, because I could keep listening to it and I was like, I'm just digging this. I'm just sitting here. I had half a bottle of red and I'm just going to listen to this tonight.
Yeah. I've had people when I have like the Apple headphones in and they're like, oh, what are you listening to? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, myself. Yeah. And they're like, what?
Like, you're some kind of narcissist? Like, what?
I'm like, no, dude.
No, I just really dig this.
Yeah. This is my life.
This is super normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to find out a little bit more about, if you're okay, like, I don't know, sharing, but what kind of stuff you were using on the mix that you showed me tonight.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Because you said that you really like the stock Logic plugins, but have you got some other stuff that you were using, that like some new techniques or some things that you were excited about during the mix that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, I've used FabFilter, I've used Waves, Pro Tools, Ableton. I've kind of seen like everything, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
I just wanted simplicity. I don't like Pro Tools for the reason that it has that eye lock.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to bring that everywhere with me.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a big deal, it feels like it is. So Logic, yeah, that's what I use. And the stock plugins, I feel like if you get a clean recording,
Yeah.
you can mix it. If
It
you
mixes
have
itself
yeah.
almost, really. Like,
So I've just taken extra care and like time to make sure I get a really, really clean recording.
totally. Yes.
Because I've had times where I just like, I rush it or I don't get the best takes or whatever. And then you're mixing something that's like unmixable. It'll always have flaws.
Dude, I've been there way too many times. And
So get the beds to be good.
Incredible. Get really
Yeah.
good quality recordings to begin with.
And then
yeah.
mixing's like a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically, I throw a de-esser on because I feel like my mic, the AT4040, catches the S's really hard. And then, EQ, compress, EQ. I put an exciter on it.
Which one are you using?
It's the only exciter in Logic. It's under specialty, I think.
Okay.
Basically, it's got like 2 different colors you can pick from.
Yeah.
I go on the second one.
Yeah.
And it adds harmonics to your vocal. I put it at like 15,000 hertz.
Okay. So way up there in the air region.
Way up there. Yeah. So it's like kind of brings out that brightness.
Yeah.
Like even more. And I don't know. It's hard to explain. But when you turn it on and off, it's a huge difference. It just brings like color.
Yeah.
And like more harmonics.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I noticed that when we played the mix in here, I was like, damn, the vocals are really clear. Like, just like a polish on them. There was a sparkling, you know?
That's a large part to the EQ.
Yeah.
So I noticed if you cut at 250 and you drop that down, if you cut again at 500 and then at 1,000, so you like double and then double again, that's typical. I don't know how it works, but I remember learning that at Nimbus. And then I do a huge shelf cutoff, like to like 170. Like I like cut off all the low end of my vocal.
Oh, okay, 170. Yeah.
And then I also cut at the other end. I cut at like 18.8. I'll just fully cut it off.
Okay, so you're not like it doesn't go to 20. You're cutting.
No, 18.8 is where I do it. So
18.8.
Yeah.
How did you pick that number? You used your ears, or
I remember somebody telling me
18.8.
Yeah, I think it was Caden Crooks. Do you know him?
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he was just like, dude, I'm pretty sure it makes it way cleaner. And since he said that, I just keep doing it.
And it's been working.
Yeah. And then after I compress, when I boost again, I just yank the brightness like 7,500 and up. I do it plus 4 dB.
Yeah. Nice.
It just, that's what
boost.
brings the clarity.
Yeah.
You need it. If you don't have it, your vocal just gets buried.
And nowadays more than ever, like the vocals are just so crispy these days.
Yeah. And then the last thing I do, I put a limiter on. And the only thing I do with the limiter is bring the gain up. And what that allows me to do is, because I'll track with my chain active.
Okay.
And it allows me to leave the gain on the interface lower. So it doesn't pick up as much room noise or like buzz or hum.
Yeah.
But still allows me to hear my vocal louder in the headphone.
Okay.
So it's like a little cheat.
And that doesn't affect the tone of the mic pre at all, like having the gain.
Sounds mint.
I mean, it sounded great to me. So yeah. An interesting technique. Yeah, there's something to be said about what you hear while you're tracking too, right? Because that's going to get you more in the zone. If you really, some people want to hear themselves, some people don't. It's,
Well, it's like setting up for this podcast. I want it to sound.
Yeah.
I want it to hear myself how I want to hear myself.
Yeah.
Or else I can't even get started.
Yeah.
And that's the recording process too. Like if the reverb's off or there's latency, it's just like I can't start.
It really throws you off.
Yeah.
It's about vibe. You can't get in the vibe. You, like you said, you can't even start. It's like you're trying to do a dance, but your shoe's untied. And it's like, okay, don't start the music yet. Like, I gotta fix this.
I also like
right.
recording myself like I've been in studios. I've had other people hit spacebar.
Yeah.
But
Command space bar in Pro Tools.
R.
Yeah, R in Logic. Yeah.
There's something to be said about being alone in your house or studio and just doing whatever you want.
Yes.
There's no one saying anything.
Yeah.
You can focus on anything. You can take a break at any point.
Yeah.
You can, like focus and hone in on whatever you want.
Totally. On your own time.
Yeah.
your
There's
own
something
pace.
about like being around someone else where you feel like you can't dig deep enough because you're conscious of their time. That's like how I am. I'm conscious of like their time and like I don't want to bore them or like whatever. Whereas like if I'm alone, I don't care how much time I spend. It doesn't bother me.
It's just until you get tired and then you turn it off. Yeah.
And I feel like I always get the best product when I record myself.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And you know how to do it. You don't need anyone else there. I used to love that too, man. The first 2-3 albums I did was all me. Maybe my friend Gnostic might have helped on a couple. For sure, my album Gaia's Gift, he helped with that one. But the first 2 is just me and GarageBand, dude. At any time of day I wanted, and just I remember that feeling. It was the best. I was in the zone, man, and time just melted away, and I'm just me. Oh, I want to try that take again, and just and just Oh, it was the best.
Yeah, you're cutting out the middleman, right?
Yeah,
and the creative process, there's less of a gap.
Yeah.
You can kind of sit there, change something in the writing. Whereas if you go to a studio, not that it's a bad environment, but there's less room for potentially changing things or doing it exactly how you want. Like, I guess people enjoy studios. I get kind of intimidated in a sense because in a big studio, I feel pressure to like get in and get out. I just do. Even if I have time, it feels like there's an engineer and I don't know, man. That's just how I see it. It's weird.
Is it that you're afraid of like what they're going to think of you or that they're going to know more than you or?
No, I'm conscious of their time.
Like you said.
I'm just like, I don't want to waste your time.
Even if you're paying them.
Even if I get the verse down first try, I feel like I'm wasting their time. I don't know why. And if you pay someone, you're like, oh, maybe they're not invested because like they're being paid.
They have to do this
job.
job.
They have to do it, which is another thing. I don't like that dynamic of like, this person's working with me because they're on payroll for the day.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. It's like these weird mental things that I have.
That's why makes you realize, hey, like why they reinforce into our heads so much in school, like how important it is to set the tone and the vibe in the studio. Because art, I'm sure you're not alone in feeling a lot of those ways, and it's so about making the artist feel as comfortable as possible and for the engineer to not get in the way at all. Just the producer can chime in and stuff, but unless they're being asked, the engineer just sits there and they know how to control the spaceship, but their voice is not important. The artist should not feel intimidated. They shouldn't feel like anyone's getting in their way. You should it makes sense, right? Like the engineer should just be literally invisible. Almost like you were in your bedroom recording on your own and you had someone there who was not, you didn't even notice them. But
plus I feel like when you're alone, you're more willing to try things. Like if you're recording a hook, you'll try it in different tones or different styles. Yeah. Because who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a different mentality and it's like a different approach to it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of big names record themselves too. Like obviously Lil Wayne, Miguel, Mac Miller. Like a lot of people set up their laptop.
Yeah.
And they just do it themselves for that same reason. It's just when the song's done.
Yeah.
You're gonna listen and be fully content.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I took my time. I was really tedious about everything. And I like chose to like say this was done.
Yeah.
Whereas like, again,
Yeah.
in my shoes, when I go to a studio, it's kind of like, it's done, but it's not done to me.
Right. It's done because we booked the
Yeah.
session till 4:30 today and I got to go. So is it done but in the back of
Yeah.
your head, it's not, right?
And I've had times where I leave a studio and you get the bounce and you're like, oh, there's already like 12 things I want to change.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, like it that happens a lot, you know. I
Yeah.
see that in people. That's why we have the 1 hour quick edits option, because there are so many things that maybe the artist did feel a little bit like they're on the clock, maybe whatever, they weren't in the right headspace, or maybe they got inspiration afterwards. And we send them the mix that they've paid for, but they listen to it on the car home or whatever, and you know, they hit you up with an email with like 14 things they want to change. So
That's a weird thing, the inspiration. Like if you have a mic at your house,
yeah,
it's really good because you might just feel inspired at the weirdest time.
yes, 3
Where-
a.m. you want to hop out of
Yeah.
bed and just press R. You never know, anytime, right?
It's true. And that makes a big difference in just your tone, like the importance of having some kind of soul in what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
Like there's got to be emotion behind it no
Yeah.
matter what you're saying.
100%.
And if you're not feeling inspired and it's like you're forcing it out,
yeah,
it's like, again, the listener is who notices.
yeah,
Like the artist might be like, okay, cool, whatever,
Yeah.
it's done.
yeah.
But it's like people will see through it.
Yes, and it'll stand the test of time. You know,
Yeah.
there's a reason why there's a whole handful of artists that they still get played regularly, like in 2019.
believable.
It's believable. It's
Yeah.
authentic. Like everywhere you go, you're still hearing Bob Marley in cafes or wherever, and it's just like his shit comes on, and you're just like, this is speaking to me. I'm not hearing this. It's actually resonating with something I can't explain, you know, or like for me, it's guys like Charles Aznavour or Stevie Wonder or something like that, where it's just like, this is going to be hot forever, you know, like both of those guys that played at our wedding, and it's like, there's a reason, right?
Will it though?
Well, I don't know. We're not, are we?
You know, Migos is going to be in like Blend's Cafe in like 20 years.
Yeah,
And
when
they'll
our
be
kids
like,
are
"Oh,
getting
I remember
coffee
this."
or our grandkids are getting coffee. Are they going to be bumping Culture too? I don't know.
They'll be like, remember when Offset cheated on Cardi and they still got married?
I don't know, man. We'll see.
I was actually so bummed Mac Miller did not win the Grammy. Do you know about that?
I don't. What's the story? What do you?
So Mac Miller put out Swimming, his album, and then passed away shortly after. He was supposed to go on tour, and he's never been nominated. And post-death, they nominate him for Best Rap Album. So it's like him, Pusha T, Cardi B, and two others, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Travis Scott for Astroworld.
Sure. Yeah.
But the Grammys flew out, I think Mac Miller's mom or maybe both parents to the Grammys, like sat them kind of in the front.
Cool.
And they left Rap Album to the last award. So it was kind of insinuating that they were going to tribute Mac Miller,
Yeah.
give him this award. His
Yeah.
parents were
They
out.
flew his parents out.
Yeah, and it was very like
Shit.
nostalgic in the sense that like this is the end of his career. Obviously, he's not going to put out more stuff. It'd be a nice way for him to go out,
Yeah.
you know, like get his first Grammy. And his mom was like said to, there was an article, she's like, I'll accept the award on behalf of my son if he wins.
Oh my God.
It was very, all signs pointing to him winning.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't have cable. I don't.
Yeah.
So I was like on the internet, just hitting refresh, and I see Cardi B won, which like, I don't want to steal her thunder, but she didn't thank or acknowledge Mac Miller on stage. And I was like, man. And then she did it backstage like later because I think she was getting a lot of flack on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I was just like kind of bummed.
That would have been really beautiful. Like,
Right?
It would have been special.
But then you realize that's not the first time award shows have got it wrong. You know, you hear about this stuff. It's just that one felt because I'm an invested fan.
Sure.
And I cared. And like his passing sucked. Like it happened way too young. I think that's the worst part. And it was accidental. And it was like, he's 26. He could have done a lot more past that.
Oh man.
And it's like fentanyl, it's like, it's killed so many people in the last couple of years.
I didn't realize that's what it was.
Yeah, they said it was a mix of alcohol, cocaine, and fentanyl. And it accidental.
Jesus.
So just like, heart stops.
I don't want to
something.
make light of the situation of his passing at all, but I can't help but remember a video I saw of he was in the studio with French Montana and one other guy, and they're all in the studio with with their jewelry, and they've got like their little cup of whatever.
Yeah.
And Mac Miller pulls out a 2-liter of like, I guess, syrup and Sprite. And these guys are like, this isn't a scripted thing. This is like some behind the scenes Instagram thing of a video. And they're like, whoa, like, what did he say? He's like, you're going to miss a few shows if you finish that. And then he was like, nah. And he just like takes a swig out of this 2-liter of like, who knows, some concoction. Right. And it's just like, he obviously had problems, substance abuse problems. Like, that's crazy. Right. So I'm not trying to say like we saw this coming, but it's really sad. But that, that really like, that shook me out. I was like, damn, dude, like,
yeah, it like becomes very real.
Yeah.
Because the problem I think too is a lot of rappers promote that the usage of drugs, syrup, coke, whatever, like it seems normal and passable and, oh, they're doing fine. But are they? You see a glimpse of what they're up to.
Yeah.
You might not see those like really, those days where they're just sleeping it off. And,
hung over for 2 days, like, on tour, missing a show, who knows? Like,
or like the mental battles they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking about this the other day, like Instagram only shows us the highlights, It's very rare that people are posting like their low moments. They're posting like the new jacket they just bought, or like the watch, or the party, or the, and it's crazy. Like the amount of people that do copy the artists, like the amount of people that come through the studio, and the Sprite bottles and Mountain Dew bottles I have to clean up after sessions is baffling, dude. And there's big things of cough syrup left over. And it's just like, why are you guys doing this? Are you doing this because it makes you feel good? Or are you doing this because you saw the guys on Instagram doing it and you want to be like them? Like, it's how much is this helping your performance as well? Like, there's all these things. But it's scary, man. Like, it's one thing to like smoke a joint or have a few drinks, but these are not normal types of things that people are doing. That's
the thing, man, is like Lil Wayne kind of coined the syrup thing, I think.
I think so.
And obviously at the time when or at least as far as I remember, he was putting out like 1,000 songs a year at one point, like around the Carter 3. And he was doing syrup and probably other stuff, but that is like a freak of nature.
Yeah.
That is not normal for someone to be that productive and be under that kind of influence. And people don't realize that. It's like most people smoke a joint, get the munchies and fall asleep. Whereas like this person can smoke blunt after blunt and then continue to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like,
and
it's a different breed, man.
Yeah, they are. They're a totally different breed. And these people are, we shouldn't try and aspire to that.
He's a legend. Like he will forever be a hip hop legend.
Yeah. Like, even if, I think guys like that, even if they didn't release music, he could still be like a legend just for like the stuff he does, his persona, the videos.
He's an entertainer.
There you go. That's a perfect way to put it. He's an entertainer. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. With the way he dresses, with the way he speaks, with the lifestyle, like
he like embodies it.
He took it to a whole nother level, really.
Yeah. And that's all he knows. People like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like anyone that blows up super early too. I wonder what their perspective is, because they have, they don't necessarily have nerves. Because if you're performing at like 10, 12, you probably just get on stage. You have fans, things happen. You don't even have time to think about it. And then you have this like weird point of view. Like your perception of reality is really not normal.
Yeah. When the only thing you've known is that thousands of people, millions of people love you, you know?
Joe Rogan was mentioning Justin Bieber had a girl try to climb through his chimney to have sex with him. I was like,
Yeah,
dude,
I remember
like,
that. Yeah.
what?
Yeah. That's crazy. Like they're breaking your personal space boundary, they're breaking laws, you know.
Yeah, super fans.
I wonder how many of the Beatles have stories like that, you know, because you ever see those Beatles videos in the 60s?
Nah.
Dude, you've never seen
Like the groupies?
No, they're just girls in the audience, like fainting, literally like hyperventilating and screaming and just completely losing their minds. I've never seen that. I've never seen that with anyone else. Any other artist, any other band, you name it. Like the way when you see documentary footage of the Beatles performing, the way that their fans reacted, it's 99.9% females in the audience, and they're losing their shit, man. Like you've never seen before. It's funny to watch. So Bieber's one thing, but I'd like to talk to Paul McCartney about some of his. If he had to put any restrictions or what's it called, restraining orders on any of his fans.
Man, it was just a different world, though. If you think back,
Yeah,
like
people weren't as exposed to as much. Hey,
yeah, people are now overstimulated.
Totally. Yeah.
And being at a live show is just not as exciting. Like people are on their phones at a show.
Yes.
Filming,
You're
letting
right.
everyone know that they're there. Whereas like before, you might find out that band's coming, you buy a ticket and you wait patiently, and then when you see them, it's like you're so excited.
No, that's a really
it's
good
a very
point.
different process that happens. Like now, people probably leave shows early to go do something else,
or
you
to
know?
like beat traffic, or
Yeah,
you know,
just to be
whatever.
like, oh, I went.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, they got the Instagram post out of it. You know, here, Travis Scott selfie in the background, and then dip.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
like-
frustrating for, I bet artists like who have been around for a while and kind of seen the transition. It's got to be frustrating. I remember seeing a video of Adele and she stopped in the middle of a song and she was like telling people to put their phones down.
Wow.
She was like watch, like listen, like be here.
Yeah.
And it's like imagine you're on a stage and everyone's just Snapchatting themselves
Yeah.
or like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it's a weird thing.
It's crazy. It's not even about you seeing the artist. It's about other people seeing you see the artist.
Yeah, you got to let people know you went.
That's what it is, right?
It used to be a lighter,
Yeah.
which was like, I don't know, that's kind of a cool vibe. Like everyone has their lighter in the building. Now it's a bunch of glowing iPhones,
I remember
a couple Androids.
in Victoria, I saw Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube. They were on a tour together, and this was in a hockey arena, and they did like a Tupac tribute.
Oh, sick.
Like they did a whole West Coast thing, and the whole hockey arena filled with lighters. It was like I was young, right? So this was one of my first shows ever, and I was like, this is everyone coming together, all these lights for one person to pay their respect. It was a really cool moment, but I haven't seen that since. This is before the iPhone, obviously. This is like, you know, Razr flip phone, LG 3200 days.
Also, I've heard the rapper Logic, he was saying the way fans interact with the artist has really changed. Like he was in a restaurant or something and a fan just ran up and didn't even say hi, just like pulled his camera out to take a selfie with him. And it's like,
It's disgusting.
yeah, like there's no,
This person isn't a zoo animal. Like this is a human being. Like you have to respect. It's a thing called respect. But maybe they're just so starstruck they just lose their shit. And like,
well, he said he looked at the kid and he was like, excuse me, what's your name? Hi, I'm this.
Yeah,
You know, like,
yeah.
hello.
Yeah, this is how you do this. Exactly.
There's a disconnect of the fact that this person is real.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
Or you see people like taking pictures of, you know, Rihanna at the beach. There was this picture online. It was like Rihanna at the beach, and there was a horde of just all these overweight white people like crowded around her with their cell phones. And it was like, this wasn't Photoshopped. She was like just trying to enjoy a vacation. And then like all these people found out, oh, it's Rihanna. Like no respect for her personal space, no respect that, you know, just walk up and start filming. Or put yourself in it, and it's just like, what is happening to people that are losing their minds? Like,
it actually doesn't sound appealing
to be famous.
Yeah,
it sounds terrible.
Like
to be that, like to be big famous. You know,
there's something about privacy that I like. You know,
yeah, or to be a big actor and try and go to a restaurant and just hang out with some friends, order a bottle of wine, and without a bunch of people coming up to your table asking for photos and whatnot, and just being constantly interrupted. Like,
yeah, it's tough, man. But I mean, there is huge like trade-offs.
Yeah,
you're rich,
helicopters.
You can get into helicopters. That's
cars.
The first thing you think of. No, dude, you could get into any restaurant. I mean, you'll get a lot of free stuff. I feel like when you're famous, people just hand you stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they'll like give you a car, give you clothes, fly you around.
Yeah.
And they pay you handsomely just to like show up at a club or whatever. It's weird. That's why the rich just get richer.
You get to that certain point, and then the snowball just keeps rolling. You don't have to push it anymore. It's just like it has momentum and it just keeps going, right?
Yeah, dude.
Well, I'm not aiming for that level of fame or success in any way, but it would be dope to have a gold record. You know, it would be great to have some recognition.
How does that even work now? Because everything's on streaming sites. So does Apple give you like a streaming gold record?
People still get records. I see it online. People get records, you know, everyone, you know, the producer, the engineer will get a record.
Is it SoCan or who gives it?
That I don't know. That's a good question. But it's still a thing, you know. It's still a thing getting records, and everyone involved in the process of making it will get like a Super Bowl ring. Like it's not just Brady that gets a ring. It's all the guys on the bench. It's all the trainers, all the guys.
Imagine though,
you know.
Imagine just Brady gets the ring, and they all ask him to touch it.
Yeah,
and he leaves it on his finger while it happens.
Yeah, and then he kiss the rings. No, but records are still a thing. And they mail it to you or whatever, and
it's just a different it's a different way of acquiring money as an artist. You know, Chance the Rapper gave away all his music for free. Just found a way to do it with merch, tours, sponsors, whatever else. And he was like, you know, I'm not gonna even attempt to make money off my first projects.
Incredible.
So it's a different approach. That's
and then he won a Grammy.
Yeah, dude.
Unsigned Grammy.
It's sick that he held out. You know what I mean? Like he never signed to a major and kind of kept control. Yeah. What's crazy is like if you watch the Super Bowl, he was in that commercial with the Backstreet Boys. Like, dude, you made it. You made it.
Yeah. You're dancing next to the Backstreet Boys.
And they re-recorded the song with you in it. Like it's...
Yeah. It's the people have spoken though. It like, you know, he didn't need approval from anyone in a suit and tie on a high-rise building. It's the people that spoke. The people downloaded it. The people liked him. They followed him. They went to his shows. And that's who you're trying to win over, the fans at the end of the day, right? And that's powerful, right? He got to where he was just by connecting with them and being real.
Plus he's about the community, because I heard SoundCloud was going to shut down at one point. And then he personally stepped in, was like, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen. I don't know if he invested his own money or did something, but I remember there was a post that's like, SoundCloud is 30 days from being shut down. What? And then he tweeted back and was like, I'll handle it. It was like pretty dope. He kind of saved that, because that's a huge chunk of people, right?
SoundCloud.
Like a lot of people don't spend money on distribution to do the iTunes, or maybe they don't have rights to the songs. So they're kind of like, oh, I can put it here safely without a lawsuit. It's that very gray area still.
Yes, it is.
So,
But hugely important, and like a whole genre of music is basically stemmed from it, right?
plus it's more almost social media based, like the way your page is set up and you have like follow for follow.
Yeah, it's like a
almost,
MySpace or a Facebook page kind of thing. You've got your photo, you've got your recent things, you've got your playlists, and it totally
they can comment in the song at different like
time-stamped comments.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Like, oh, nice build, bro.
Sick beat drop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a cool way to let people interact for sure.
Mm-hmm. I prefer I feel like it's more authentic and legit to use like Spotify and Apple Music and whatnot, especially if I meet someone and they're like, oh, where can I download your stuff?
Yeah.
If you say SoundCloud, I'm not hating.
Yeah.
But it's just saturated.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that have a SoundCloud account that make music, that put it there. People who use Apple and Spotify, there's far and few between.
Yeah.
There's less. And there's something about the artwork there, the layout, the fact that people already use it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like SoundCloud is for the music people. It's not for your average listener. You know what I mean?
I would say it's for like just the casual fan, like people that don't even necessarily make music themselves will have SoundCloud accounts. So they can go and comment on stuff. Maybe people that have never even released a song are going to have a SoundCloud account and like build playlists themselves. Whereas someone who's gone to that next level to put something out on Apple Music and Spotify, if they tell you, you check out my album on Apple Music, it's a kind of a stamp of approval. Like, oh, you're taking your career seriously. You've gone to the next level. Like, oh, it's on Apple Music. Like, you don't just accidentally get it on Apple Music. There's a whole process to that, and you have to own it. It's authentic. It's original. It's
plus like
for the most part, but
older generation, like my parents aren't going to go on SoundCloud. They're
no,
not. They're gonna go on Apple Music, and that's where it stops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If the song is not available there, they don't listen to it.
You don't need to listen to it.
Yeah. It's
yes.
SoundCloud is going to hit a certain demographic and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. The people that are
it's like a popularity
music
contest.
Fiends. I think there's a lot of people that are like, hobby listeners where like music is their hobby.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
People that are spending hours a night after work and I know there's people out there like that. That's like how they spend time. It's just, they're constantly, I need something new. There's got to be a new artist. Like there's going to be more new consistent releases on SoundCloud. Whereas on Apple Music, it's like, you've got to wait for that, Offset album to drop. You've got to wait for the next Ariana Grande album to drop. Whereas on SoundCloud, it's like every minute. It's like Instagram for music. You just refresh your feed and there's new songs every few minutes. Like,
yeah, there's just a lot of stuff.
There's too much stuff.
Yeah, too many choices.
Yeah, too many choices. It's not always a good thing.
Nah.
It isn't.
Plus, it's cool, man, when your stuff is on Apple Music. It's like up there with other
I love that.
legit people. Like my album is sitting next to Drake.
Yeah, I know. I love that. You see all the little thumbnails, all the little album covers. You're scrolling through, and then there's yours, and then keep scrolling through, and someone else famous, and it's just like, if it's a huge feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, like I know I'm not on that level, but it feels like I'm in the same.
You're playing the same
field.
sport now.
Yeah. Well, I would hope, yeah.
In the same, yeah. It's cool. So the new single, you're going to release that soon? You said you were still working on the artwork though.
I have artwork for it I can use. I kind of stashed like 15 artworks. I don't know why. I think it was like I had knee surgery and just like did artwork.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
And then I've just been kind of using them like as needed. So I have a couple I could pick from.
Are these just generic covers you've made that don't have text on them yet, that like you were saying before with lyrics where you could like use it to a different beat? Or is this some artwork that you've specifically made for this single? Like how do you stockpile like, oh, this a whole bunch of potential artworks, put some filter on them, and then later on when you decide what you want to use it for, you put the text on it? Like,
yeah, so like this is what I was thinking.
oh,
So pretty generic. Always put the parental advisory because it just, you have to.
yeah,
But no, I don't know. I'm not kind of the guy who like, I don't necessarily want to have a picture of me like on the cover. Okay, here's my reasoning. If I'm a fan of a rapper, he puts out an album, I download the album, I listen to it, I have to constantly stare at this dude's face. He's on my phone. Like as much as I listen to this album, I have to look at this guy trying to be a model on an album art.
right.
Like to me, I get why people do it because they want their face to be recognized, and people can start, you know, just understanding who they are. But for me, I'm like, I don't need my face to be plastered everywhere.
Yeah, okay.
So I try to not do that. And I'd rather just have like creative artwork that I make. Yeah. That's the other thing. I'm not down to pay someone to do it.
Sure.
There's too many apps. There's too many, you know, like the phone camera is honestly not bad if you know how to edit
and you're good
images.
at that. And you have, you know, you've got the post-production software. You've done some artwork, you know, that I've seen that I was very impressed with, you know, that, so that's cool that you do it yourself and you can get more creative with it. Your face is always going to be your face, but there's endless ideas for artwork that you can come up with. Right. And that's just, you know,
plus if I'm going through iTunes and I see an artist I've never seen before, like you could just not like the guy's face or not like the picture or think it's tacky or not even entertain the music because you're like, I don't like the image.
Sure.
You know, so you got to be careful in that sense too.
Yeah.
Like you want to let the music speak for itself.
Yeah.
That's my approach.
Yeah. You don't want to be too flashy, I guess, with the artwork.
Plus it's like, it seems very self-centered. I mean, yours is dope. Like there are dope ones, obviously. Yeah. I just find some people, like I guess country stars do it. You know, they're like deadpan, like they're trying to be a model.
Yeah, though you're right. That's a genre where it's like very like the poses look very, very heavy on the pose. There's always a cowboy hat, you know,
and that's what the girls probably want.
Yeah, but if you don't like, as soon as I see that, that's funny, right? That's one of the only genres where you can instantly be like, oh, cowboy hat, I'm not listening. If you don't like country, it's an instant deterrent, right? Yeah. That album cover, there's someone with
possibly black and white.
Yeah, belt
buckle.
Boots on, cowboy hat, belt buckle, or something like that. You see, those are triggers, right? There's a truck in the background. I'm not hating on country at all, but those are for sure signals, right? Instantly, boom.
Yeah.
And if you're scrolling through and you see that, and that's not your jam, it's just a big red flag. Whereas if it was more neutral, there's maybe a better chance that someone might try it out. Let me see what this sounds like.
Plus, if you make your own artwork, like you get to be a part of that creative process as well.
Yeah.
So you get to make the music, you get to make the artwork. Like when it's packaged and finished and it's online, you can look on it and be like, I made everything.
Yeah. This is mine. Like this is my baby. This is my birthed this from nothing, you know, the whole way through.
No, it's good, man.
That's really cool. So, you've got a new place and some new gear, but whereabouts like in the room are you set up? Like, where's your mic? Do you have a little booth going on? It didn't sound like there was a lot of room noise in your recording. So I'm just curious, like, what's this setup like?
I just literally have it in the middle of the room.
Oh,
it's
really?
a studio apartment.
Okay.
It's bigger than my last place, but no, I just have the mic stand like right next to my office chair, like my computer chair.
Yep.
And I know people stand up. I've stood up a lot before, but I'll actually sit up with really good posture on the edge of my chair.
Yes, that's important.
Because I want to be able to turn in my chair and reach the keyboard and mouse and make edits and hit R as needed, and then turn and just be able to record.
Yeah.
So I want to be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
The more comfortable I am, the more relaxed I can be, and the more focused I can be on the actual
take
performance.
Itself. On the performance.
So it's like if you stand up, sit down, stand up, it's like there's movement happening, and then you're getting comfortable in the chair, and then you stand up again, and then it leaves more room for air with if you do blend 2 takes for it to sound different.
Yeah. Big time.
So
big time.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of singers, that's where I saw it. I saw singers like Alicia Keys in a studio. They were sitting on chairs singing. And I'm like, oh, you just have to sit with good posture.
Yeah, you got to get your diaphragm, your breathing correct and all that. But, and I guess it also depends on the vibe of the song too. Like if it's single ladies, you probably not, Beyonce probably wasn't sitting for that one.
No.
Whereas like, I don't know, some Hello by Adele, she may have been lying on the couch for all we know, so whatever vibe of the song you can get in with, you can get away with a different energy and a different way of performing it, right?
Yeah.
Different mic setup. Is your place carpeted?
No, it's hardwood.
Oh.
It's you'll have to see it. It's dope. My view actually sees downtown.
Okay.
The whole Lions Gate.
Nice.
Basically, my window looks like a postcard.
Yeah.
It's kind of trippy.
A little bit like this one where I can see like the slopes. I can see the harbor center from here.
It makes you feel like you're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So it's good to wake up to that. Otherwise, it's just good having a space where you can record, man. It's so important. Especially like if you've had it and then you don't have it.
Yeah.
Like something's missing.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And it's weird. You can't really fill that void with like much else.
No, if that's your creative outlet, like, I don't know, you're right. That's what's missing.
Yeah.
It's the one ingredient that's missing. And if you're used to recording and then it's taken away, or I don't know, someone who does pottery and like they lose their clay and their little wheel, like playing solitaire is probably not going to fill that void. You've got to have your thing.
Yeah. I've made the mistake of like, going back and forth between, okay, I'm going to buy my own stuff, do everything myself. And then kind of like 6 months into that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell my stuff and then use that money to invest in a project or a song, which is a weird thing because looking back, I'm like, I should have kept my stuff every time.
Yeah.
But I always thought, oh, I can only get like my own production to a certain level. I need to pay someone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of go back and forth between that.
Yep.
Right now, I'm like, I can do everything myself. So that's what I'm going to do. But I mean, it's good to work with other people.
Yeah.
You do learn a lot and they bring out different like strengths that you have and they might point out things you can work on.
Totally.
Whereas like when you're alone, I guess the downside is you only have the one angle to look at from.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good, man. I can definitely think of times where I wish I hadn't sold gear as well. And if I just hung on to it, like I would have found a use for it someday, or I'd still have it in my collection and I'd have more options. Like there's definitely, like for me, thousands of dollars of stuff that I've gotten rid of, or just like didn't know how to use it right, or felt like I wasn't confident enough, and then just sold it. But it's cool now that you've got to that level where you feel you can handle it yourself. You can handle the mixing, the recording, all of that, and the artwork, and see a project through all the way. So
another thing too is when I started, I kind of spoiled myself with like a Neumann. I got a Duet 2. I got an SM7. Like I tried to spend money in order to get a good product.
Yeah.
Like with my music.
Before you were ready almost for it. Yeah.
It's like, what would you compare it to? It's like if you're starting skateboarding and you buy like a $200 like pro model and like all these things, you're not going to appreciate it. You you kind of got to learn the basics.
Yes. Okay.
So like,
and then build yourself up to that, right?
yeah, like get a Walmart board, figure out if you even like it.
Break a few of them.
Yeah.
Get really good at your ollies.
Yeah.
And then get
before investing. So like I had SM7 was the first one I got.
Yeah.
SM7B. And I had a Duet 2. But it was like, I didn't need that.
Yeah.
I could have got an AT2020.
Yeah.
And just figured out how to record.
Yeah.
So I got that. And I was like, oh, I have the same gear that like Michael Jackson used, Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is one of the best interfaces like at the time, and I think still is. And I'm like, why can't I get a good sound?
Yeah.
And I thought you could just kind of buy the best stuff and
stand in front of it and make a classic, but it's not that easy, is it? It's there's so many other variables. You do need the good mic. They did have the good mics, but they had the mic pre. They had I recently got new cables, and I'm not shitting you. Like
you were saying,
I would compare them to my older cables, and these sound better. So yeah, like these, we may be able to afford some of the microphones that these legends have had, but they had everything else in the chain and a platinum mixing engineer and a best sounding room, and there's just so many ingredients right in the equation.
Yeah. It has the potential, but it's like, what can you do with it?
It's like you said, it's almost better off just getting the entry level stuff and then outgrowing that like it was clothing,
because now I have a more inexpensive mic, a way cheaper interface. Like I've invested basically nothing, and the product is like a million times better.
It's funny,
just because I know how to use it. And it's so weird. And I see it, man. Like I'm guilty of it, but I see people buy the U87.
Yeah.
Because that is what most studios have, most rappers have in their videos. But that's a $3,000 or $4,000 mic, and people will finance it or figure out how to get it. But then they'll use it
with like a really cheap interface.
That's the other thing.
And you're getting like 10% of that what that mic can actually do with a cheap mic pre. You need to buy a really nice mic pre to fuel that microphone to give it its potential. And I know I've spoken with people that are like, oh, I'm picking up a U87 or just got this, or like really ridiculous mics for their little home studio. And it's like, they don't fully understand. And it's like, that's okay. Like there's a million things that I haven't fully understand and I'm still learning it, but it's like, that's a big pitfall, right?
Well, there's no shortcut.
No.
And that's why people go to Long and McQuaid or Tommy Lee. And they're like, okay, I'm going to drop a couple grand and that should do it. Yeah. But it's like,
well, those guys there are great. Like they can help you shop. And a lot of them are super knowledgeable. And I've gone there and I'll just kind of pick their brain sometimes.
But I mean the actual investment, like just because you spend X amount of dollars does not mean the dudes there are super helpful for sure. But I'm saying like that mentality of going in and kind of being like, hey dude, what's the most expensive mic?
Yeah.
It's a weird approach.
Yeah. That's not going to guarantee you a good product, like you said.
Yeah. And then you don't appreciate it either.
No. Because
then if you start with the U87, you would never be satisfied with like anything else. You know what I mean?
You set the bar so high.
Yeah, it's like unattainable.
Yeah.
It's arguably the best mic.
Yeah.
That's like, I think there's more expensive. I've heard of like $10,000 mics, but
yeah, that Sony 800 is about 10 grand. That's a really popular mic these days.
But like that's law of diminishing returns we were talking about. Yeah. That is like prime example.
Yeah.
That difference from U87 to that one, like you're spending so much more, but the difference is
and artists and rappers have blown up literally. Like what Soulja Boy's story? Have you ever heard his story? It's crazy. Like I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something like his mom just bought him some gear at Walmart, and he like, just made some silly internet.
Is that how he made Crank That?
Yeah, it was like just some cheap gear, but he was inspired, and it was like
that was my first ringtone.
Blew up. It was giant, and people record in hotel rooms on tour and with way less. And at the end of the day, like the tools are only so much. It's really about the music. As corny as that is, it's like, what are you putting into it? Like, and then how well do you know how to use it? Like you said, you've got less expensive equipment now, but you're getting better results than you ever have with less.
Yeah. So the guy I bought my mic off, he lives in Langley, and he had the sickest home setup. And he was just saying like, dude, if you're serious about this, you can make money and earn a living off a home setup. He gave me a bunch of resources, said like, yo, hit me up if you ever have any questions.
Oh, awesome.
He was very supportive of the idea that I wanted to do things myself.
Yeah.
And that it was attainable.
Right.
He does, what does he do? He does mixes for Hollywood movies.
Oh, like scores for...
Not score. I think they like give him stems. I don't know, man.
Like what genre though are we talking for? If it's a Hollywood movie, it's like the French horns and the strings and stuff. Are we talking, or maybe he didn't specify?
Yeah, we didn't go super in depth, but man, this dude's setup was crazy. He had
like in a spare bedroom, or what was it?
It was just like a maybe 2-bedroom suite.
Okay,
but he had a rack with like multiple.
Yeah, all the
like
hardware
it was
here
stacked, and then he had like 3 different monitors. He had one of those ring lights above his screen with a camera set up, like a proper camera.
Oh.
So he might do like video,
videos
as well.
Explaining it. Oh wow.
Couple keyboards and everything. He had an SM7 mounted with that like crane
the arm.
Yeah, one of those.
Honest.
It was very like he sits there and everything is in reach.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's really got it dialed in and figured out. Yeah.
You can tell like he sits there and doesn't move. But it was dope. And he was just kind of like, man, I really encourage what you're doing. You know, we have to stick together. It's like a small industry.
Yeah.
But he was just like, it's doable.
Yeah.
And I think it's a weird concept for someone to grasp. Even someone like you, I think you realize it, but it's like, can you really make a living?
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
It takes time, man.
I've realized that. Like I've gotten to a threshold for sure where I feel like, you know, it'd be a huge risk to quit my day job, but I'm making more money than I ever have, and that's amazing seeing all this income. But it's like, can I take it to the next level and raise a family with this income and have money, vacation money saved up? Like if I was single and bachelor and maybe able to keep this up, but you know, but it's just, it's not discouraging, because if I look back 10 years, I was nowhere near where I'm at 10 years ago. So if I go 10 years more from here and continue in the same direction, like that's optimistic.
It's more of a hustle because you don't have the steady paycheck.
Yeah.
Maybe it might come in lump sums and then you got to save it.
It's really inconsistent, and it's super like self-discipline, self-motivation.
And artists are flaky. People in the business are just, you know, that's part of it. It's one of those industries that it's kind of a free-for-all in a lot of ways. Like no one's really regulating much. You know, everyone's kind of like an independent contractor.
There's no
fending
like
for themselves.
Yeah, there's no like NFL of music. There isn't like a league. There isn't like an organization. It's just kind of everyone's doing signed, unsigned, co-signed, whatever. Like,
and there's no formula to be successful.
There's no, secret recipe for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Do this and then this and then this and then Lamborghini. It doesn't work like that.
Except for those YouTube guys. You know the ads?
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm just here with my Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And you're like,
that guy's hilarious. For some reason he comes
up.
The
dude with the glasses.
Yeah.
Right?
He always comes up on my YouTube
He comes up
ads.
on mine all the time. He was like walking onto a jet the other day.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, just gonna take a little vacation.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not your jet. You're lying.
Yeah.
You're straight up lying, dude.
That guy is just red flags all for me when I see it. I'm just like, come on, man.
He reminds me of someone. Yeah. I'm not going to say who.
We'll talk about it after the show. I know who you're talking about.
Almost the same glasses.
Yeah. Oh, Christ. Should we wrap this thing up? It's like a fucking sauna.
Yeah, dude,
here.
I'm actually sweating.
Yeah. Need to change my shirt. But yo, this was super fun, man. let people know where they can find you online and on social media and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so just check the spelling of my name on this. You can find me on Apple Music, Spotify, all those platforms. I don't really use social media, but yeah, you can definitely listen to my music, and I'll put out. I've got a couple projects already out, and I'll be putting more stuff out kind of as I finish it.
Perfect. Tristan Meroni. That's the artist name. That's the producer name. And that's the man himself.
Dope. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Peace. 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 Peace.